What is up? Welcome back. Today, Jim Butcher's Stormfront, which I actually had not read. I know I'm like 20 years behind the times. This book has kind of come and gone in pop culture. Around 10 years ago, maybe more at this point, there was the Dresden Files TV show that did not do well in the ratings, and yeah, it just didn't do well overall. And then it was referenced on The Office, where Toby Flenderson creates the Flenderson Files, which is a clear ripoff of the Dresden Files. But it's even more boring because it's Toby. And I can't remember that well, but I think Nick Miller's book in the show New Girl was basically just like a parody of this book, except with a werewolf detective instead of a wizard detective. But anyway, spoiler free, what do I think of this book? So, this is a book written in first person about a wizard detective. So, it's like a mystery and fantasy book mixed together into one book, and it's kind of like a soft magic system where you don't really know what the wizard is capable of, but you kind of know. I'm usually not a fan of first person books or soft magic systems. Like, I'll read them, and a lot of times I'll enjoy those type of books, but usually I prefer like very concrete, this is what you can do with magic, and books written in third person. But I don't know, it kind of works for this book because the wizard Harry Dresden's like, I don't know what I can do. An example would be like if he has to make a potion that he's never made before. He's kind of like, well, we'll see how this turns out. I don't know how well it'll work. It's kind of like magical cooking. But like another example would be like, oh, this other wizard is using this spell, and like I have no experience using spells like this at all. One of the things that I have more of a problem with when it comes to the soft magic system is a lot of things aren't defined well at all, such as when technology will and won't work for Harry Dresden. Basically, when like some of the time Harry Dresden or a magical being is near technology, it will stop working. This includes cars, radios, elevators, phones, anything you can think of, or at least anything that would be around in the year like 1999. And I like this a lot because it's very awesome that there's flaws to being like a powerful magical being. I like when there's some sort of drawback to it, but it's just never clearly defined. Like, you never know why or how like a piece of technology is working or isn't working when he's around. And that's like the point of it. But like sometimes a car will travel across town and sometimes it'll break down, in 2 blocks. So it feels more like a plot device. Like, if he needs this car to travel across Chicago, it will. And by he, I mean Jim Butcher, not Harry Dresden. But if Jim Butcher does not want the car to travel across town because of a plot device, it won't travel across town. I think the characters are overall good. Harry Dresden has these weird wizard problems, which is always pretty funny. Murphy, I think, is like very good aligned character. Um, the White Council is fairly mysterious. They're very by the book. These are our laws, follow them or else. Bob was hilarious. This book feels a little old to me, or maybe not old, but it doesn't feel like it's aging as well as something like Harry Potter, which came out at around the same time and is kind of in a similar category of low fantasy mystery following one character around. It's tough for me to imagine a world where technological advancement just stops. The world we live in right now is so technocratic that it requires me to suspend my disbelief But I mean, obviously every low fantasy book does, but maybe it's just because it's Dresden's first person point of view, which makes me feel like technology has kind of stopped advancing and people are more into the arcane. Maybe it's just because he's a wizard and it's from his point of view that I'm getting that vibe. The antagonists are all good as well. I don't really want to talk about any characters other than Harry, Murphy, and Bob because they're like very clearly not involved with the murders. I don't want to give anything away. But overall, the good characters, the bad characters, the unaligned characters, they're all well done, I think. But yeah, all that said, this is a pretty fun book. The plot's pretty fast. It's easy to read. It's pretty interesting world considering that it's not, you know, super long high fantasy or anything like that. It's just a fun book. You've got a good mystery with fantasy added in. So I'm gonna give it 4 stars. I still haven't started any of the other books in this series yet. Maybe I'll get to them, and hopefully the next books in the series are like that as well. You guys can tell me what you think if you've read this series, if it gets better, worse, better than worse, or whatever you think. No spoilers though, because I haven't read them. Please. All right. Anyway, that is that. Happy Sunday, everyone. See you whenever I decide to make another video.